Welcome everyone to our sixth episode of Hunting for Suspenders and Stilettos. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Please join us on this podcast where we explore the edges of leadership.
In other words, we bring our own unique, distinct, and possibly contrary perspectives.
My name is Anne, and I'm French and calling from Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
And I'm Huda. I'm calling from Dubai. It's dark already.
I'm John in Cambridge in the UK. Apparently, it's just started snowing here.
And I'm Sarah, calling from Toronto, Canada, where I'm really just beginning the new year of work and school and all that stuff. 9 a.m. here in Toronto, fresh back after the holidays. And today we are talking about goal setting, and specifically New Year's goal setting, New Year's resolution setting. Do we love it? Do we hate it? Where do we stand?
And a great question maybe to start with would be, why have we decided to talk about goal setting today? What is it so important about goals or no goals? Any one of you?
Yeah, I think we chose it because of the tendency, the enthusiasm perhaps for New Year's goals, and to just pause and reflect on the value of that, and perhaps more broadly goals in general, but to understand where goals and New Year's goals serve us and perhaps where they don't.
I mean, we're all coaches, so we're in the business of supporting people to look at where they are now and look at where they might want to go. And in that gap is intention setting, planning, mapping out some kind of change. And so inherent in that is our goals. So it's part of our lives, it's part of our work. I mean, we might have different names for it and different processes for it, but it's definitely part of our everyday. Am I right?
Sarah, can you tell us then more about how do you see goals and what do they mean for you and for your work?
So for me, they mean, as I said before, taking an honest look at where I am now, or helping my clients see where they are now, and then looking at where they want to go, what's important about that, and then what are the steps to get there. So they're never made in a vacuum. They're made in consultation with our values, with our bigger purpose, with our longing desire for our life, and then coming up with processes and steps to get us to that place.
Thank you. John, any different view or?
Well, I used to hold goals as kind of the ultimate thing to drive us forward and to achieve stuff. And I realized that sometimes we can get very hooked on that and forget the journey, and perhaps pick goals that aren't really aligned with the journey we want to have, or they suffer from this problem of you either kind of succeed or fail. And so I have, like, personally, there's goals in a business context where maybe there is a thing you've got to deliver and you have to plan for it and you have to run a project. But my personal goals, I hold them quite lightly. So I'll set a goal out there in the future, and what I'll do is translate that into a process to get me there. And then I'll trust that the process in itself is valuable. The system that I put in place will take me in a direction that is aligned with that goal, but the actual achievement of that goal is not so important to me. It's who I become and what the changes that occur as a result of the process that I adopt.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and for me, I like to have goals, but I don't do New Year's goals. And so for me, it's more about like an ongoing bettering or an ongoing looking to learn rather than, oh, so this is 2024 and this is what I'm going to achieve this year. So like, yeah, it doesn't work for me. Actually, the only year that I actually did that is the year that I actually didn't achieve anything that I wanted. Or I mean, the year that I really paused to look on, like exactly what I wanted to do in terms of professional achievement, then it removed all the flow of things. I like really to move with the flow, and then with a guideline of where I want to be.
And you said something really interesting here, is the year when you really put yourself onto goal setting, measuring your achievement with these goals and stuff. You had the feeling you didn't achieve something. Why do you think? What happened?
Well, I think a lot of then I think to make sure that it's the goals are achieved, then it needs to be super smart. And sometimes you do like a goal that it's idealistic, it's like a dreamy thing, and then you're not being so realistic about things. And also, so for me, maybe there was a bit of, oh, actually, maybe I didn't think much. I didn't think that I would achieve that, or I was not, actually, that wasn't the purpose for me. So the goal was about achieving a certain turnover. And in fact, for me, the goal is about well-being and having time for myself. And so that wasn't the right goal. Sometimes I think we also want to give ourselves, especially people who work for companies, you have budgets, etc. So you think about numbers. And in fact, when there are other things that are more important, exactly what John was saying, like who you are becoming, who you are being. And for me, having more, so what I have achieved last year is actually having more time for myself. But and what I used for that was putting time in my calendar, and more time in my calendar than the previous year, and with more holiday time planned where, well, I'm not going to work. And yeah.
I got you. Yeah. So for me, when I said just the mere fact of saying the word goal, I feel like I'm in prison. Maybe it's my corporate background, but and that doesn't mean that I just don't connect with goals completely. I understand their use. I understand what it's an engine to move and to build, clearly. What I connect more with, and that really has been driving me, is desire. So the word desire for me is really connects with a life force. So what do I desire for myself, right? So I spent the past 3 weeks reflecting on what I did last year and what I want to do next year. And time doesn't really matter. It's just a time when I paused. I had time to think. I had space. And you really, again, the word desire is what made me like it. It's just I vibrate. I'm happy. I feel like I'm really in tune with what's happening inside me. Now I thought about it and I said, okay, I have a business to run as well. So how can we connect those desires with, the natural life of a business, generating money, having a turnover, meeting goals in a corporate environment, which is why often we are hired as coaches, right? And I think for me, it's about marrying both. Is building really that bridge between what are the deep desires, inclinations of the client, and how do those desires can express themselves in the corporate world to meet KPIs or OKRs or whatever it is that they have to meet. And then what, as Sarah so rightly said, what do we need to work on? What is the transformation that needs to happen? So this is a little bit of where I stand when it comes to goals. I want to call them desires. So what are your desires?
Well, I think it's a really interesting point you make there about, can we distinguish those goals that are necessary for the execution of our jobs, the goals, or whatever we translate that into, that are about creating a life that we love and a really fulfilling, meaningful life. And yeah, sure, there are times we have to have goals that are not aligned with that because they're just necessary for the execution to live like a goal of, I need to pay the bills. There's a goal in there somewhere. But I think we can get drawn into that the expectations around work that we need goals that are very smart, and for our own personal satisfaction and fulfillment, perhaps we have to be careful, I think, as to whether setting a goal like that is useful or not.
Well, there is, sorry, maybe we can define the word smart, because we are assuming here that our audience understand it. So would you like to do that, please?
Yeah.
I can do it, but
Yeah.
so like SMART stands for, and you can correct me because I think there are several. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. I think that's what I have learned. And to me, actually, I'm not necessarily against SMART goals. Like, I mean, but I am not in for SMART goals that are not aligned to our desires or values or life purpose. I think that's the main thing for me. It's like, so when I set a goal about earning more money, it's actually, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in learning, spending, discovering new things, connecting with people. So like that's nothing to do with my values to earn more money. If it comes with it, that's great, but that was the wrong goal. So I think it's super important to set the right goal.
I agree, and I think that we're all on the same page, that we need motion, and we want to be clear about what that motion is, about where we're going and the actions we want to take. And at the same time, we want to be clear on what's motivating us. I love the word that you said, Huda, about desire. And I love what you just said, Anne, about, is it connected with our values, our purpose? And John, you talked about holding it lightly. It's true, we have to, because the world happens. And if we're like super attached to something happening by a specific date and life happens, what are we going to say? We failed at that goal? No, right? Mm-hmm. That's not motivating, right? So for me, I think a huge defining feature of a goal that works is something that's fueled by love, mm-hmm. versus fear and being punitive and being hard on myself. It's fueled by my love of myself and my love of the world I have and my community, my clients, my family. So that for me, the energy, the emotion behind it, if it's fueled by that positivity versus kind of that punitive, well, if you don't do this, you're not. It's when you were something around what you were saying before, Anne, about like setting, well, if I do this, I'd I'd be so proud of myself, almost like this perfectionistic fantasy of like, you know, once I hit this goal, I'm going to finally, you didn't say these words, but I'm imagining, you know, we can all get trapped in this. Once I hit this goal, I'm finally going to love myself. I'm finally going to be a good enough person. So I think we need to love ourselves before we hit the goal, and love ourselves when we hit it, if we hit it, or if we learn something else about ourselves in the process.
I'd like to add something else, Sarah. It's about holding goals or whatever likely. It's also creating space for opportunities. We live in a world that is, we can define it as VUCA, right? Volatile, uncertain, blah, 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 right? And things happen. The face of the worst change. We saw it with COVID. We're seeing it with all the wars last year and this year. And so what do we do, right? Be it on a personal level or in a business context, we need some space, some mental space, some emotional space to be able to tune into what's happening around us and embrace it in the form of an opportunity or in the form of a threat as well. So, and this is where, for me, goals can be limiting, because then we're just like in that tunnel type of thinking, and we cannot open up to the rest, right?
And I'm gonna be sneaky a little bit, because I know we're starting to go towards the end of the time. But I wanted to talk about something that I've read, and I've sent you the link. You know, we can also share the link in the lives, which is the power of anti-goals. I thought it was great. I like to think about, okay, well, maybe you want a goal, but think about the anti-goal. So for me, typically what I was saying, I mean, if by like, I don't know, wanting to earn so much money, you know, I'm not aligned to my goals or my values of connection, then my anti-goal is, then I will lose connection. Or so I think it's a great measure to say, okay, is it rightly set up? The goal. Anyway,
I'm hearing, Anne, that what you say when you say yes to something, what do you say no to, right? It's just like, it's that balance, right? So on this note, I'm gonna invite you, since you're the last one who spoke, to leave our audience with one message. You have less than a minute.
I would say, if you don't have to set up goals for the new year, I would say when you feel you need a change, that's when you need to look at, or you want to look at, your goals. And the great tool that we already talked about in last episode is the Wheel of Life. So I would recommend to use this tool to set up your goals when you feel like it.
John,
I can go. Yeah, very practical thing you can do. Take your New Year's resolutions. Take anything on your to-do list that you expect to take more than a day. Check in that it's resonant for you, that it aligns with your values and who you want to be in the world and who you want to become and the things you want to achieve, excites you. Convert it into a process. Take it off your to-do list and convert it into a process that you execute on daily, weekly, whatever the right time frame is. So that's my top tip I will leave you with.
Okay, great. My turn. I love both of Anne and John's tips. So +1 for Wheel of Life, +1 for processes and habits. My top tip I will leave you with, listeners, is whatever and whenever you want to set your goals and intentions, stop fueling them, if you do, with doubt and perfectionism and a feeling of lack of worthiness. Fuel them with love of yourself and what you want to bring into the world.
Wow, guys, you left nothing for me to say, right? I'm gonna say it. So, Wheel of Life, process and fuel, drive your goals with love, versus fear or any limitation, right, Sarah? And thank you for this, because the antidote for me to fear and scarcity and all this is desire. So my message to you is stop a minute, take a bit of time for yourself, slow down, meet that beautiful person who is you, and just tune in with what you desire, what is your deep desire, and this will transcend any limitation, anything else that can arise in front of you. So yeah.
So, to goal or not to goal? That is
The question.
Mhm.
Thank you, and we will meet you in 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
I think a bit long.
2 weeks, maybe.
I think we said 12th of February next. We should have thought this through before. See you
All
next
good.
time.
We'll see you soon.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.